Everyone loves zombie games. Who doesn't? From arcadey type slash them alls to realistic survival, there is a zombie game for you. But just how deadly are zombie games? Will civilization rebuild? Will the whole population be wiped out? Will zombies just be a nuisance? Well, that's what we're here to answer today. I will be splitting zombie games into 4 categories. Extinction event. Humanity is overwhelmed, the threat is too vast, mutated or widespread. No real recovery is possible. Terminal collapse. Civilization has fallen, but isolated survivors continue. Rebuilding is extremely unlikely, but not impossible. Hard reset. Society is damaged, but the infection is limited or recoverable. Small groups could survive and rebuild. And a snooze fest, to resemble those with zombies who are practically a nuisance, and in some cases, humans are scarier. The ranking of these games will be determined on 3 factors: severity of the virus, threat from zombies, and sense of society. Before we start, please acknowledge that my opinions may differ from yours, so please refrain from any negativity. I'd like to hear your opinions and why. At the end of the day though, it's all love. I've picked out 8 games and I will be putting these into a list to see if we as humans can overcome these apocalypses. If this video does well, then I will most definitely make a part 2. So, without further ado, let's get into it. Number 1. Call of Duty Zombies. For this, we'll be going based off of pre-Cold War zombies. Call of Duty Zombies is an endless round-based game mode on Call of Duty. It originally started back in 2009 with Call of Duty World at War, with the map Nachtoren. Excuse my horrible pronunciation. And ever since then, it's been a fundamental game mode in most Call of Duties, other than the Modern Warfares, and we won't talk about the newest Modern Warfare, and Ghosts, which presented aliens instead of zombies. Anyways, how did zombies occur in Call of Duty? Well, as stated by a Reddit post online, it started with a group known as 935, led by a Dr. Maxis who invites a certain Dr. Edward Richtofen to work on science. It is also important to note that Maxis has a daughter named Samantha, who has a dog named Fluffy. One day, they discover this new element, Element 115, which has magical capabilities such as making wonder weapons, used for teleportation and the ability to raise the dead. Whilst working on the teleporters, Richtofen teleports to the moon, where he finds a weird pyramid thingy and touches it, which kinda makes him go crazy. One day, Richtofen and Maxis use Fluffy as a test subject for the teleporter. Samantha walks in and Richtofen knocks Samantha and Maxis in the teleporter. Also after this, hellhounds are created from Fluffy. Samantha and Maxis end up on the moon. Maxis gets eliminated by the people of 935 and Samantha ends up in the pyramid thingy and uses it to control the zombies to hunt down Richtofen and the guys in the 935 group, which leads to the start of the apocalypse. Obviously this is a different case for Advanced Warfare, World War II and Infinite Warfare, which aren't part of the Treyarch Zombies timeline, but fall into the same multiverse with it? I don't know, I won't get into any of that. So, where do I think Cod Zombies lands on this list? Well, personally, for us humans, we're going extinct. And probably in a matter of days. I mean, first of all, zombies is endless. There's technically no end to the number of hordes that rush towards us, which means at some point, our needs are going to catch up to us. Look at the Earth in BO2, it's literally on fire. Furthermore, the person who controls the zombies is on the moon. Yes, the moon. And let's not forget about these behemoths. So, unless us as humans know how to use these teleporters, then we will never be able to put an end to these hordes. So if this happens, we better count our days. Number 2. Project Zomboid. What is Project Zomboid? Project Zomboid is a realistic isometric zombie survival game developed in 2013 by the Indie Stone, where you start off in the epicenter of the Knox virus, Knox Country, Kentucky. Zomboid probably has the steepest learning curve in all of the zombie games, given that the tutorial only teaches you basic things such as how to fight, eat, loot, and well, what buttons to not press. Apart from that, you're left on your own to discover skills and learn the game. The game dooms you from the start, stating that this is how you died. So, how did the Knox virus start? Well, it started in the weeks prior to July. A foul smell was noticed in the air. A couple of weeks later, on July 1st, 1993, the phone lines in Knox Country are down for maintenance. July 3rd, a military truck carrying an unknown substance crashes. And July 4th, an unusual illness affects the residents in Muldra, a town in Knox Country. A couple of days later on July 6th, an illness outbreak is declared in Muldrow. The whole area of Knox Country is blocked off by military, other than Louisville, the main city of Kentucky. People crowd over in cars to the exclusion zone, Louisville, and hazmats are seen roaming the area of Knox Country. July 7th, the phone lines are still down, and an unusually bright meteor shower is spotted over Kentucky. July 8th, people are reported with illness in the exclusion zone, and a no-fly zone is established over Knox Country. Day 9, this is when the game begins. The president issues faith in the military to control the virus. On day 10, it starts to become a concern for the globe as the UK Prime Minister orders the US President for clarity about the virus. Day 11, riots start all over America over the Knox event. Waves of panic buying flood the US and the exclusion zone is widened with a quarantine camp left abandoned. Day 12, military is set up all around the USA and radio transmissions come from within the exclusion zone, stating that the virus is more serious than the military makes it out to be. As well as this, a photo is revealed from West Point, a town in Knox Country, showing a man dismembered but still living with bodies plaguing the streets, causing panic. Day 13, curfews are announced in cities around the USA, such as Chicago and Baltimore. Places around the world such as Mecca in Saudi Arabia and the Vatican City to be closed or secured. Day 14, large numbers of infected attack the gates of the exclusion zone, causing breaches. The fights between the army and the undead arise panic in people living in the Louisville suburbs. Day 15, people start falling ill to the virus without being bitten, the aerial strain. Later on, people with the aerial strain turn and die. Many of the undead are already in Louisville or over the Ohio Ridge. At least 95% of survivors at the camp and the military fall ill. Day 16, the majority of Louisville have the virus and thousands are turning by the hour. The bridges on the Ohio River are destroyed to prevent spreading. By the next day on day 17, the virus has not only spread to the USA in places such as Columbus and Cincinnati, but also globally in London, England and Okinawa, Japan. Majority of the radio stations are seized and replaced with emergency broadcasts. Day 18, it spreads to New York, Berlin and Tokyo. From this point on, the virus spreads uncontrollably and fast, until July 27th, when billions are dead, and then on July 28th, almost everyone falls ill, with a small groups of people immune to the aerial strain surviving. And from that point on, it's just you and your survivor. But wait, I didn't say how the virus actually started. And well, that's because the developers, IndieStone, do not explicitly state how it's caused. Actually, in-game on the radios and TVs, there will be people explaining their theories behind the virus. According to the people with the radios, here are their theories. One states that the military is the cause of this, with an experiment gone wrong. Another is to do with Spiffos, a restaurant chain in-game. The virus is apparently caused as a result of feeding cows to cows and is somewhat linked to mad cow disease. Another is to do with the meteor showers and the fact that the virus is a space-borne pathogen. Some people believe it was caused as a result of a terrorist group. There are also some really weird theories, such as the virus being able to spread through telephone lines, and the whole area of Knox Country being used as an experiment for the military. But anyways, where do I rank the survivability of Project Zomboid? Well, extinction is likely. Let me explain. The whole point of Project Zomboid is that you die. The game is made to be brutal. Unlike the others, the game is made to show you the sheer reality of the apocalypse and saying that no matter what you do, it will all lead back to your death. The game gives you a sense of hopelessness. No one is here to help you. You are alone, and you'll most likely be forever, until your death. The game shows you who you are. You're not a main character with plot armor like Ellie. You're a normal person, doing a normal job, who will end up like most of the slop on the side of the road. Number 3. Dying Light. Dying Light is a first-person survival zombie game, developed by Techland in 2015. The game follows Cal Crane, an undercover GRE agent, who is dropped into Haran to retrieve a stolen fowl. Off the get-go, he is bitten. Yes, you heard me right, he is bitten. Because he shot his gun. After being bitten, he is rescued by a girl called Jade, who takes him to a survivor camp known as the Tower. Crane is introduced to Raheem, Jade's brother, who teaches him parkour. Cal understands that the tower is always being harassed by bandits under a rise, who hoards GRE supplies. Cal decides to go out to find one of these supply drops, not only for the tower, but for himself, to get antizin, a suppressant for the virus. When he gets to the supply drop, the GRE orders him to destroy them, and instead buy drugs from Rise. Crane goes to make a deal with Rise, where he gets 5 vials of Antizin. He finds out that the GRE are halting supply drops, so he cuts ties with them to help the tower. Crane meets a Dr. Zere, who wants to develop a cure for the virus, and from that point on, he helps Dr. Zere, until he dies, where he delivers Zere's samples to Dr. Camden so he can develop a cure. But just how did Haran fall to the virus? Well, the virus that plagues the city of Haran is the Haran virus, a form of rabies, but the infected are intolerant to UV. The virus is transmitted through either a bite from exchange of saliva or blood from a scratch. It's unknown how long it takes for the virus to spread, but speculations are 5 days, given this is how long it took for an 11-year-old to turn. The origins of the virus are unknown. However, the GRE believes that the virus may have come from food sources. The mother, a figure in dialect the following, believes it's the cause of a military experiment. There is also another theory that the virus came to Earth by a meteorite sent by aliens. Sounds a lot like another game. This isn't a far-fetched theory, however, as Cal can be abducted by aliens. Unlike a lot of games on here, the Haran virus actually has a cure. However, will us as humans survive the Haran virus? Well, personally, I think terminal collapse. This is because although yes, the virus is extremely deadly, and we can see that through the several variants of the zombies, those who survive know how to survive. People are taught both how to fight and how to parkour, which is vital in both getting away from fast zombies such as virals and volatiles, but also good in avoiding those massive zombies on the ground, such as the molishers. Furthermore, people know where to set up bases. A lot of the bases on the game are either set up with lots of fortifications or high up. All come equipped as UV lights as well, which the infected can't tolerate. The only problem really is humans. The city of Haran receives constant support from the GRE, which causes an everlasting conflict between the people of the tower and Rise's bandits, representing the feeling of community versus greed. Yes, Rise is killed at the end of the game, however his men are still around. That's why I have decided to put the Haran virus in terminal collapse, as if you understand the weaknesses of these zombies, you'll be likely to thrive. Number 4. The Walking Dead. The Walking Dead, not this one, or well kinda this one, is a 4-game series driven by the decisions you make. It was made by Telltale firstly in 2012. The game follows Lee Everett, a criminal convicted of murdering a state senator for sleeping with his wife. He gets a second chance at life after the zombie apocalypse breaks out and a car carrying him crashes into a zombie, where he then rescues and forms a strong bond with a young girl named Clementine, whose parents are missing. As they join a group of survivors, Lee becomes the leader and a father figure, making tough decisions that affect who lives and who dies. Eventually, Lee is bitten, and in a heartbreaking final scene, Clementine is forced to leave him behind or put an end to his pain. The season ends with Clementine alone, who then becomes the main character in the next 3 games. The game doesn't explicitly state the virus that caused it, but it's likely that the virus that caused the apocalypse in the show is the cause for the one in game. In the Walking Dead game, the virus is often compared to the wildfire virus from the show. You don't need to be bitten to carry it. Once a person dies, regardless of cause, they reanimate as a walker, unless their brain is destroyed. Bites or scratches from walkers don't transmit the virus, they cause lethal infections, often from bacteria or intense trauma of the wound. After death from a bite or anything else, the virus activates, turning the body into a zombie. The source of the virus is unknown in the game. Just like in the show, it originated in a lab in France and spread fast, and by the time people realized what it was already global and unstoppable, causing societal collapse. There's no cure, no immunity, and no government structure left to handle it. Where do I think The Walking Dead ranks? Well, personally, I think it ranks in terminal collapse. As a result of the wildfire virus, society fell really quick. Furthermore, the zombies outnumber humans in a significant ratio. The game also teaches you a valuable lesson, and that's on trust. Just to look at the crazy cannibal family in episode 2, or the backstab from Lily. Oh, I won't forget her for that. Although it ranks in the same bracket as Dying Light, I believe that is slightly lower off of one factor, and that is zombies. The zombies in The Walking Dead are, well, underwhelming. Unlike a lot of zombies on this list, The Walking Dead lacks a mutation, and well, they're slow and weak. And I know a lot of you Walking Dead fans are jumping up and down in your chairs screaming, Project Zomboid is the same. First of all, Project Zomboid has sprinters. Secondly, not one hint of humans are found in the game other than the odd meta event. It's also canon that you die in Project Zomboid. Number 5. Dead Island. Dead Island is the first-person zombie survival horror game released in 2011 by Techland. Wow, they're good at making zombie games. Players take on the roles of 4 survivors: rapper Sam B, hotel receptionist Jan May, former football star Logan, and bodyguard Perna Jackson, who find themselves immune to a sudden zombie outbreak on the tropical island of Benoi. After a chaotic party, they awaken to discover the island overrun by infected residents. Rescued by lifeguard John Cinnamon, the group is tasked with finding supplies and contacting the outside world. As they journey through Benoi, they encounter loads of different groups in a city known as Moresby, including the Rascal Gang and survivors seeking refuge in a barricaded church. They learn that the infection is a mutated form of Kuru, a brain disease that originates from the island's indigenous population. Their mission leads them to a high-security prison where Colonel Ryder Wyatt, a Benoi Island Defense Force commander, claims to have a potential cure. However, Wyatt's true intentions are revealed when he steals a vaccine and plans to escape. In a final confrontation, Wyatt injects himself with the vaccine, but it mutates him into a monster. The survivors defeat him and escape the island. The game is followed up by Dead Island Riptide, a standalone expansion to the game made in 2013. The 4 survivors escape Benoi by a helicopter, but crash on a military ship. They're sedated and detained by Colonel Hardy and civilian Serpo, and wait to find the ship overrun, which eventually crashes onto Palanai Island, which is also infected. There, they meet a WHO researcher named Harlow, who warns them that the infection is spread and that Serpo's team aims to weaponize the virus. The group heads to Henderson City, navigating flooded tunnels and fighting through the undead, uncovering that underground chemical weapons mutated the virus further. This agreement arises between Serpo and Colonel Hardy, and they clash over their differing views. Serpo wants to evacuate and collect immune people, whereas Hardy wants to nuke the island. The survivors disrupt Serpo's helicopter escape and learn from Harlow that no cure exists and that the outbreaks are deliberate bioweapon tests. Harlow injects herself with a mutagen and must be killed. At the end, they refuse Serpo's offer of a sanctuary, leaving him to escape and escape by boat with a small group. As they drift away from the island, the game cuts to growling from below deck, suggesting that the immune may have died to the infection. Fortunately for the survivors, it's likely that they survive, as Sam B is seen in Dead Island 2 and mentions the other survivors. The virus that plagues Benoi is known as pathogen HK. This is the faster variant of the disease Kuru, which is caused as a result of cannibalism. Stage 2 Kuru, along with Stage 2 HIV, causes HK. The disease is spread through blood, so much like other viruses, bites, scratches, anything like that. The virus spread to the island resort of Benoi due to a secret organization wanted to test it on a small group in order to send it to a military for use in biochemical warfare. They need to sell it with a cure to make it a good sell, and they figure out that those with a type O negative blood are immune to it, and those with that blood type will have their blood used as part of the cure. This explains why the 4 characters in Dead Island do not turn after being bitten or attacked. For this, Escape Dead Island and Dead Island 2 have not been included, mainly because they are 2 different games, and although yes, Sam B is in Dead Island 2, the game is completely different. If you guys want me to explain these 2, I can make a part 2. So, where do I think Dead Island ranks on survivability? Personally, I think a hard reset is possible. Although yes, there are mutations in Dead Island much like Dying Light, I feel like those of other games such as Left 4 Dead and Dying Light pose a more significant threat. Furthermore, the HK virus is only constricted to Benoi and Palanai, so for now, the rest of the globe is fine, unless we consider Dead Island 2, but that kind of branches away from the virus in 1 and Riptide, so we'll save that for another video. Number 6. Left 4 Dead. Left 4 Dead 1 and 2 are first-person zombie shooters released in 2008 through 1 and 2009 through 2. Left 4 Dead follows 4 survivors: Bill, a veteran, Zoe, a college student, Lewis, an IT worker, and Francis, a biker, who are immune to a mysterious viral outbreak known as the Green Flu. The game starts off with no mercy. The group fights through a city to reach a hospital rooftop where they signal for helicopter rescue. Death toll. The survivors travel through small towns and a church to reach a boathouse for another escape. Dead end. After crashing near an airport, they push through the wreckage to board a plane out. Blood harvest. They make their final run across farmlands and woods to reach a military outpost. At the end of each campaign, they are rescued, but it's never permanent. Each escape leads to another infected area or a new crisis. Eventually, in the later DLC, The Sacrifice, Bill dies to ensure that the others can survive, revealing just how hopeless the situation is, even for the immune. Set in the same outbreak as the first game, Left 4 Dead 2 follows 4 new survivors. Coach, a high school football coach. Nick, a gambler. Rochelle, a news reporter. And Ellis, a mechanic. They are also immune to the green flu. The story begins in Savannah, Georgia, just as a military evacuation fails. The group is left behind and must make their way through the deep south, trying to reach a safe zone. The infection is spread everywhere. Cities, swamps, small towns, each is overrun with both common infected and powerful mutated specials like chargers, jockeys and spitters. The game starts at Dead Center, where they escape a burning hotel and pack for a mall to find a stopped car and drive off. Dark Carnival. They navigate an abandoned amusement park and signal a helicopter rescue with a rock concert. Swamp Fever. They travel through flooded towns to reach a crashed plane site. Hard Rain. They retreat fuel during a massive storm and retrace their path back. The Parish. They cross a ruined city to reach a military checkpoint on a bridge in New Orleans. The DLC campaign, The Passing, connects both games. The Left 4 Dead 2 crew meet Zoe, Lewis and Francis. They learn that Bill has sacrificed himself so that the others could escape. The cause of the apocalypse is known as the green flu. The green flu is a rabies-like virus that possibly stemmed from livestock or biological experimentation. It was initially mistaken for a common flu by authorities. Transmission occurs via bites or contact with infected bodily fluids. Over time, it became airborne or waterborne, fueling its rapid spread. Originating in eastern Pennsylvania, it spread across the US in just 2 weeks. Effort to quarantine cities and close airports failed, and by around day 24, major hubs like New Orleans were overrun. The virus destroyed entire brain function, turning victims into violent, often still conscious creatures. Later, it mutates rapidly, causing special infected with mutated, driven traits, for example the tank, charger, and spitter. Carriers, like the game survivors, are asymptomatic. They don't turn but can still spread the virus. Attempts by the CEDA and the military included setting up evacuation shelters, safe rooms, and quarantines, but the efforts collapsed under the massive infected surge. The virus is classified as a biohazard level 4, constantly mutating every 24 hours on average, making a cure nearly impossible. Much like Project Zomboid and Cod Zombies, I would have to rank Left 4 Dead an extinction event. First of all, the mutations of zombies in this game are extremely deadly, leaving you extremely vulnerable to zombies such as a smoker and a hunter if alone. They also pose a constant threat to you, leaving every moment of the apocalypse as a matter of survival, leaving you with barely any time to rest up. Furthermore, the green flu caused a lot of the world to be wiped out, only in a matter of weeks. Let's not forget about the fact that the virus mutates every 24 hours, meaning it always has a one-up on us. Number 7. Resident Evil. For this, I'll be going off of Resident Evil 2 and 3, as they are the games in the series that are probably the most representative of the zombie apocalypse. Resident Evil 2 and 3 are third-person survival horror games released by Capcom in 1998 and 1999, both getting a remake 20 years later. Resident Evil 2 follows Leon S. Kennedy, a rookie cop, and Claire Redfield, who is looking for her brother Chris. On September 29, 1998, the T-Virus, developed by the Umbrella Corporation, wreaks havoc in Raccoon City, turning most residents into zombies. Leon and Claire meet briefly, but become separated as they each race to survive and escape. Both head to the Raccoon City Police Department, discovering most of the force dead and the station infected. Along the way, Leon helps Ada Wong, an FBI agent, while Claire rescues Sherry Birkin, the daughter of Umbrella scientist William Birkin. Inside the RPD, they encounter Chief Brian Irons, who is secretly working with Umbrella to cover up the G-Virus, an even deadlier bioweapon, and Claire barely escapes his attempted murder. Deeper within the city, William Birkin reveals he injected himself with the G-Virus to protect his creation, mutating him into a powerful creature that hunts Sherry. The survivors infiltrate Umbrella's nest lab, where Ada's betrayal is exposed, and Claire learns how to create a vaccine to save Sherry. Leon and Ada battle the monstrous tyrant and resist destruction as the lab explodes. Leon and Claire inject Sherry with the vaccine just in time. Leon and Claire escape. Leon vows to take Umbrella down, while Claire continues searching for Chris. Ada survives, escaping with a sample of G-Virus. I am currently playing through Resident Evil 2, so if you could show your support, it would be greatly appreciated. Resident Evil 3 follows former STARS officer Jill Valentine, who finds herself trapped and fighting to survive. The game occurs at a time respected to Resident Evil 2, happening just one day earlier. Early on, Jill learns that Umbrella has deployed a new bioweapon, the Nemesis T-Type, specifically programmed to eliminate surviving STARS members. He relentlessly stalks her throughout the city streets, police stations and sewers. Along the way, Jill teams up with 3 UBCS mercenaries, Carlos Oliveira, Mikhail Victor, and the suspicious Nikolai Genoviev. Excuse my horrible pronunciation. They attempt to evacuate civilians, reactivating power for a subway, signaling a rescue chopper via a bell tower, and battling Nemesis on the outskirts. Tragedy strikes, however, when Mikhail sacrifices himself during a cable car attack, and Nikolai betrays the group, attempting to commandeer the vaccine effort. Jill is infected by Nemesis but fights on. She obtains access to a vaccine at the hospital, and ultimately uses a prototype railgun to destroy Nemesis for good. In a final escape, Jill and Carlos reach the helipad. Nikolai, exposed as having destroyed the vaccine, tries to escape, but is left behind as the city is nuked, erasing the infection. Jill vows to take down the Umbrella Corporation once she's safe. The T-Virus is a man-made retrovirus developed by the Umbrella Corporation in the late 1960s, derived from the progenitor virus and engineered to be a bioweapon. Initially, it aimed to create a super soldier, but early strains were lethal, shifting focus to mutate hosts into zombie-like creatures with cannibalistic behaviors. It can infect via injection, infected bodily fluids, contaminated water systems, and even in sealed environments such as labs. On infection, higher brain functions are destroyed, leaving only primitive motor functions. Victims become mindless, aggressive zombies driven by hunger. The virus also causes cell regeneration, allowing the host to survive extreme physical trauma. Researchers also experimented by combining the T-Virus with other DNA, like Ebola or leech DNA, creating new strains. Some produce mutated creatures like zombie dogs or lickers. Others form the formidable tyrant, which is intelligent, super strong, and near indestructible. Approximately 1% of humans have unique genetics that allow transformation into tyrants, rather than zombies. Umbrella's Raccoon City outbreak began when the virus leaked into the water supply and sewers. To be honest, I don't think a long explanation for survivability in Resident Evil is needed. It's obvious that we could face extinction, or on the brink. First of all, let's talk about zombies. Zombies take a load of bullets, even to the head, and on top of that, the mutations are worse. Imagine being chased by a tyrant. This already leads to an extremely low survival rate for ordinary people. Those who are alive are those who are trained, specifically in fighting such as firearms or hand-to-hand. So without these skills, which the majority of the population lacks, it's safe to say we could face extinction. Number 8. Plants vs Zombies. I think I might as well get this out of the way, since it's pretty self-explanatory. But for those who don't know, Plants vs Zombies is a strategic tower defense game developed by PopCap in 2009. We live, laugh, and love PopCap. Anyways, the game unfolds across various environments: your front yard, backyard, and eventually your rooftop. Each area presents new challenges and new zombie types. As the player progresses, they unlock new plants, each with unique defenses like shooting peas, exploding, or slowing enemies. Little is known about the virus in Plants vs Zombies, but it's likely that it was caused by Dr. Zomboid, the final boss in the game, as a way to take over the world. Where does Plants vs Zombies rank? I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. If zombies die to plants, what makes you think they survive against humans? Extinction event. Just kidding, a snooze fest. And there we have it. 8 zombie games ranked based off of survivability. But wait, I've missed so much. The Last of Us, Days Gone, Dead Rising, World War Z. Well, I guess you know what that means. Part 2? But that will have to wait. So in the meantime, you can do me a favor and subscribe. Or check out my other videos. But without further ado, I'll see everyone all later.